Hi, Ali Blake here for ARRLD's Romantic Rendezvous lockdown event. So much cool stuff they're putting on at the moment, including some authors reading snippets from their books. So today they've asked me to come along and read something, and I've chosen Hide by the Mysterious Millionaire. So this is a book from a couple of years ago, but it's a reader favourite. It's one of my favourites. If you've ever heard me talk about my books or been to any of my talks, this is the one I refer to as the one about the train boyfriend. You know, that guy on the train who you like to look at every day, but he doesn't know you exist. Okay, so I'm going to read from the very first chapter. Little snippet. Okay. Chapter 1. It's him. It has to be. Ignoring her friend's imploring voice, Evie Croft let her body rock with the soothing motion of the morning train as it rumbled along the Frankston line. Swiping through the ads in the Room Rent app, she tried really hard to feel enthused about exorbitant rent, alarming-sounding housemates, or both. Evie! Zoe whispered loud enough that the schoolboys sitting across from them actually looked up from their phones. You know who I mean. He's nose deep in a book the size of a house brick, so you can look now. Evie knew Zoe was talking about her train boyfriend, but she had no intention of looking. She'd already accidentally made eye contact with Hot Stuff in the swanky suit today, and many more times since he started taking the train. It was hard not to, with his overlong hair and his rugged stubble. The man was a study in the kind of dark, broody countenance you just couldn't fake. Stop looking at that stupid app, said Zoe. You are not moving out of my apartment just because Lance is moving in, and that's final. Evie gave her oldest friend a squeezy one-armed hug. I love you because you truly believe it. You and Lance have been waiting for this moment since you were 16 years old. He's home from deployment next week and it's finally happening. Zoe sat back, closed her eyes and sighed. It really is, isn't it? Either way, Evie gave up on looking for a new place to stay. Only half an hour out from her biggest job interview of her life, with game plan no less, a coder's holy grail, she instead practiced answering interview questions in her head. Or she tried, at least, until Zoe leaned over, reaching for her phone. Wait, click back to that other app. No, the other one, go back. Ugh! Evie held up her phone high, out in front, then opened the neck of her top and slipped her phone between sternum and bra. Zoe cocked an eyebrow. You really think that's going to stop me? Evie did not. With only a super quick glance to make sure Hot Stuff in the swanky suit wasn't watching, she dug beneath her warm winter top to fish out her phone, shivering as her chilly fingers grazed her skin. And rocking into the older man sardined in beside her. She sent him an apologetic smile. The barest flicker of his cheek was a tale of eternal sufferance. The train commute took all sorts. The board school kids, the frazzle bumps with toddlers and prams in tow, women in piercings leaning on men with tattoos, creative office types with their smooth hair and manicured nails. It was a delicious microcosm of the city at large. Evie had grown up in a small dairy community just north of Echuca, and her favourite memory of her mother was listening to her wax lyrical about the short time she had lived in Melbourne, the hum of creativity, the eclectic fashion, the Epicurean delights. After her mum died, Evie had promised herself she'd end up there one day too, and have the life her mother never had. For the past couple of weeks, the city had sure been making her work for it. Seriously? Evie cried when Zoe whipped her phone away with a delighted, now let's see what Hot Stuff in the swanky suit has to say. Zoe didn't mean in person, for she and Hot Stuff had never had an actual conversation. Well, unless you counted that first day. She'd made it to the train doors right as they'd pulled up to their city stop when the train had lurched to a halt. Shoved from behind, Evie had tripped and elbowed Hot Stuff in the gut. Mortified, she'd crouched to pick up the book he dropped. The autobiography of Jonathan Montrose, the man behind Game Plan, no less. Cowboy tech investor, IT savant, Evie's actual hero. Funny, she'd forgotten that detail. Had that been what had given her the seed of the idea to apply for a job with the great man himself? Anyway, handing over the book to Hot Stuff, she'd apologised like crazy while trying not to swoon in his glorious presence, until he'd taken her by both shoulders, strong hands holding her still. He was even bigger up close, and he'd smelled so good. When he looked down into her eyes, the stormy blue depths of his holding her in their thrall, she'd forgotten how to breathe, until he'd let her go and disappeared into the station with the bustling morning crowd. Evie let out a soft sigh and glanced his way just as he ran a hand through his overlong dark hair, leaving finger tracks in its wake. All that indolent grace, the sexy stubble, and those deeply intelligent-looking eyes. He really added an extra something to the daily commute. Other commuters came and went, took different trains, adopted random seats, but Hot Stuff always chose the same spot across the aisle and down 3 rows from hers. Evie had always been a fan of patterns. It was comforting to know she wasn't the only creature of habit in her little train universe. How many apps do you have open at one time? Zoe fussed as she swiped them into oblivion. How does your brain not scramble? It's called multitasking. Zoe snorted, then found the Herbal and Rambler app she'd been looking for. She clicked on the Let's Get Personal column, flipped the phone so the words were nice and readable, and read them out loud. Okay, there, Frankston line, that's us. Carriage 3, ditto us. To the bewitching brunette in the beauteous beanies. Zoe paused a moment for drama before lifting her gaze to Evie's knitted beanie, one of the billions she'd knitted herself, for she really was a fan of patterns. Today's was silver, with a rainbow pom-pom on top. Didn't exactly go with her interview outfit, but it did the job. Zoe said, now hold on to that hat, my friend, because this is going to blow your mind. You ready? New to your orbit, I find myself struck by your raven locks, your starlit eyes. What luck that I find myself able to see you twice a day, a beacon in a sea of strangers. I must say, your sunshine smiles are my good morning, your evening sighs my good night. If I had the courage, I'd say hello. Till then, I remain alone in my delight. From your appreciative admirer. Wow, Evie mouthed. It's you, Zoe cried. You're the bewitching brunette. The schoolboys looked up again, their eyes unglazing this time, enough to give Evie a second glance. Well, isn't she? Zoe asked the boys, waving her hands up and down as if Evie were the prize in a game show. If this poem wasn't written for you, I'll eat that beanie. Evie tugged off her beanie and shoved it under her butt cheek, only to have to deal with long strands of dark hair now crackling with static as they stuck to her face. She did have a thing for beanies. She ran naturally cold, and her mum had been the same, knitting blankets all through summer, but it was her granddad who taught her how to knit. He taught her how to tie her laces and fix a tractor and cook a perfect steak, to follow her curiosity wherever it might lead her. Zoe went on, Lance, for all his good points, is not a romantic man. Telling me my backside looks hot in a certain dress is about as schmaltzy as he gets, bless him. Keeping in mind Lance is a pretty good marker for the average guy. Can you see any man on this train who does look capable of writing poetry? Together they looked, at the scruffy schoolboys now poking wet fingers into one another's ears, the dour gang of goths hanging morosely near the door, the harried working dads with their crooked ties and tired eyes. As one, they turned to the dashing, Byronesque gentleman in the impeccable suit lounging in his seat, reading a book. So, to find out whether or not Hot Stuff in the Swanky Suit did write the poem, or if he does actually know that Evie exists, and lots and lots and lots more juicy deliciousness, Hide by the Mysterious Millionaire. So thanks for having a listen. I hope you enjoyed that little snippet from my book and are enjoying ARRLD's Romantic Rendezvous Lockdown as much as I am.